Hey guys, welcome back to the Engine25 YouTube channel. Me and Adam, who's looking like he's on drugs right now, wanted to do a quick mini episode for the Book of Boba Fett series premiere. We might do one partway through, and then we're going to wrap up later on, theoretically after the full season, with a kind of a full review. How are you doing, Adam?
I'm doing pretty good. No major complaints. Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year, yes, and
Watching this anytime we're filming it.
I hope you had a very nice holiday, whatever holidays it is that you enjoy. Um, I got some fancy new stuff for Christmas. I used this in the Spider-Man episode too, but I got this fancy new mic, and I got this arm that it swings around on, and I'm pretty excited about it. I think I've got the noise suppression and stuff set up, so that shouldn't have made a gross noise for the viewers.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anywho, we wanted to chat up the Book of Boba Fett. We haven't really talked about it between the two of us yet.
No, the most that we've talked about that has been, have you seen it?
Yeah. So, but before we really jump in, what were your feelings on Boba Fett as a character slash fandom around him? How'd you feel about him going into this show and across your Star Wars life?
I mean, Boba Fett's a badass.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
I mean,
I'm not gonna argue with that.
I'm a big Star Wars fan, and so I've always been a fan of Boba Fett, but I have never been a Boba Fett fan insofar as, there are people who that is their fandom. So,
And that's fair, and
I would not call myself an expert at Boba Fett in any shade of the term.
So obviously he started, or if we first saw him in Empire Strikes Back, and they make a point, like Darth Vader singles him out and says no disintegrations. And so it's like, from the moment we meet him, there's obviously some kind of reputation implied there, which is
Yep.
cool. But he collects. I'm sorry, go ahead.
He just looks cool.
Yeah.
That's the thing of it. Have you watched, just to parallel track it a little bit?
Sure,
Have
sure.
you watched Beneath the Helmet show on Disney Plus?
Yes, that's the special about him came out just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
watched it right after we watched the episode, but they were talking about, like, it starts off saying, he had 6 scenes and 4 lines and like 6 minutes and 4 seconds screen time and like an ignominious death scene.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is he so big? But then if you like later on, they talk about how the first time the public saw him was in the cartoon, if I remember correctly, or in the toy.
He was in the holiday special of all things.
Right. But then there was a parade, New Year's Day parade or something, where he and Darth Vader walked down the street. And of course, Darth Vader, all the kids know who that is. But then there's also this Boba Fett character who nobody knows who he is.
Like, who is that?
Like, all the kids are like, this dude's awesome. Like, it's no surprise. He could have had no lines and he would have been an absolute badass because he just looks cool.
That is true. And he's inspired, an entire like genre of cosplay who, like, people who, well, the people who dress up like Mandalorians, which is obviously in the fiction, the culture that he comes from. But no, yeah. So Boba Fett is awesome, and there are always been.
Let's put it this way: in the realm of Star Wars, the first TV show, the first live action TV show we got for Star Wars was effectively a Boba Fett spinoff.
Basically, yes. And now
before we got a show about a Jedi or a Sith or the Empire or the Rebellion or anybody, we got a Boba Fett spinoff.
I was talking about the Mandalorian,
yes,
which isn't about Boba Fett, but it's informing for viewers, obviously. But he's it's not about Boba Fett, but Boba Fett's in there, and that's this show spins off the Mandalorian directly. I'm sorry, you're breaking up. Go again.
Right. I said without Boba Fett, you never would have had the Mandalorian. So
that's absolutely true. And to my surprise, I thought they would hold off the flashback bits for like midway through the season, but the first scene is he's inside the Sarlacc, and my wife is like, "Where Where is he right now? What is how did this happen? That's just like, well, he had an accident, but Han Solo pushed him into the Sarlacc, and so that's where we catch up with Boba. Um, and I actually thought it was brief, but it was handled super cool. You know, like he sees that stormtrooper and he uses the air hose to to stay awake and stuff. It's cool.
No, it was see that was really well done. I heard some people mentioning it, but I wasn't sure which way they were going with it on social media before I saw it, because I only just watched it this morning. But it was definitely a cool sequence. It was less gaudy than I was afraid they were going to make it. It was just very like, okay, I've got to get out of this place.
Right. It's like if I stay here, I am dead. So let's at least, you know, I might die anyway, but let's not. This isn't the place I want it to happen.
Right.
So yeah, so he uses flamethrower and he escapes quickly, and then he he's stuck in the middle of the desert, gets jumped by Jawas who rob him blind, and that's why he hasn't had his armor.
Yep.
Anyway, no, yeah, so the
interesting diversion from the old expanded universe lore. I was wondering how they were going to do it. We already kind of knew that the Jawas were going to take his armor because the Marshall guy from the Mandalorian series,
Cobb Vanth,
up with it. Yeah, ends up with it. But I was wondering if they were going to bring in, because in the old EU, Dingar fight.
Right. Yeah, that sounds familiar. So it's a lot of setup, but you know, I don't think that's a big issue. You know, there's a lot of season to go. The big thing for me is like it's definitely emphasizing the fact that, you know, I wouldn't say he's super old. He's in the 30s or like late 30s or 40s, but he's definitely messed up. Like, you know, because he has to he wakes up just hanging out in the Bactopod, and then he has to go back in the Bactopod later in the episode. You know, well, so this is
virtually digested.
Yeah. So this, but they get in a fight.
I think he was 10, 18 years, 3 years, 1 year. So 38.
Plus 5.
Yeah, 38, 41, 42. Is it? I thought Mando was 10 years. Is it only 5?
I think it's only 5
years after the trilogy.
Yeah.
So yeah, at least his late 40s. So he's rough for his late 40s.
Yeah. No. Anyway, no. Yeah. So they get they go into town to make nice with the local cantina owner, played by Jennifer Beals as a Twi'lek, which was a surprise to me. It was kind of cool. But then they go out and they get jumped by those dudes from the trailer with the cool energy shields. You know, and they win, but they almost get the best of him. And he's a little roughed up afterwards. And he has to go back in the Bactopod. So that's a thing I think we're going to come back around to. Is he's been through some shit for sure.
The Bactopod, I mean, it's not the first time it's been done, but the Bactopod served as a very smooth transition to handle flashbacks, because
he's like dreaming.
Obviously have the question of like, what the heck has Boba Fett been doing for the last 5 to 6 years, since Return of the Jedi.
Right.
So since that moment, what has happened? And we all want to know, because how did he go from being swallowed by a Sarlacc to showing up as the cool old dude that wants his armor back? We need to, because this is all obviously happening after that, after he shows up in Mandalorian. So I think that was really well done.
I agree, and I figured it would be some kind of like a similar situation later on, like maybe Boba Fett gets locked up and he like reminisces or something, and that's how we get the flashbacks. But no, yeah, it makes super sense, and it means that we can kind of start within the timeline that we already have. You know, it's in the post-credit scene for the Mandalorian's second season. He goes in and he wastes Bib Fortuna and kind of takes over. Now interesting thing though, like there's some questions about whether or not Boba Fett would want to be a mob boss. You know, so maybe he has some other motive here. Maybe he has something specific he wants to accomplish, and then he's going to cut and run. Maybe he does just want to be a mob boss. And my question is a lot of that just coming from expanded universe stuff that's no longer canon anyway? Like,
Yeah, that's an interesting point because I can see it both ways. Because Boba Fett in the expanded universe was kind of like the noble outlaw.
right,
There were lots
exactly.
of times when he didn't do what the normal criminal would do. He wasn't just bloodthirsty. He was very professional and that sort of stuff. But and that character was very, I guess, kind of paralleled Han Solo in that like he didn't want any responsibility. He was just out, he was there for himself. Um, and eventually the Mandalorians, because I think he became Mandalore. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me.
In the EU, he eventually became Mandalore. Yeah,
Um, but that's all for better and worse. Gone. So
that's true. And we have some
we
extra.
really don't know who.
There Boba Fett appears in the Clone Wars TV show and Rebels. And we get a little bit of stuff with him there, but like I'm really interested for them to flesh him out. And Tamura Morrison, I'm so glad that he is back and that it's he sounds right and he looks awesome and he's just a really talented guy and we don't deserve him, but he's here and I love it.
Well, I hadn't thought about tying him back to Kid Boba in Clone Wars and Rebels because, or Clone War and Kid Boba in Clone Wars at least. But thinking back to those, he's often a member of a smaller band of
like in he hangs out with Aura Singh quite a bit,
and I guess he's always looking for. I mean, for lack of a better phrase, he's kind of looking for a family, and maybe that's the one character aspect that we do have for canon Boba Fett.
Right.
So maybe that's what becoming a crime lord does. Is he's like, all right, if I can't be in anybody's family, I'm going to make my own family.
Makes enough sense to me.
I don't know. That's spitballing. So
yeah. I want to keep this one short, and like I said, we'll come back later in the season. But so how'd you like the episode? Where do you think we're going from here?
I liked it. I did not entirely expect the very classic mafia family sort of feel that it kind of took. But
I didn't either.
It did hit one of my biggest pet peeves, which is filming a scene at night. It doesn't actually have to be as dark as the desert at night.
That's fair.
Because I tried to watch it at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock this morning, and no matter what I did, I could not get my windows dim enough to not just see a big glare of my shutters on the TV. And I was like, well, this would be a really cool scene if
I knew what was going on.
So that's just a pet peeve in general. Like, don't make your movies too dark. Most people are watching, especially
and things are weird now with HDR. Like, but there's also they're probably. I recommend a small recommendation to anyone who's watching this: calibrate your TV. That's important. Okay, so apparently we crashed, which is cool. So I'm going to take this moment to say that I really enjoyed the episode too, and we're going to wrap up on that and hope that this is salvageable. Never happened before. So yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Keep a lookout. I'm going to probably do an episode about the Matrix. Adam and I are going to follow up with some more Boba Fett. And stay safe out there. Stay healthy. COVID's going crazy again, which is a thing. Yeah, and may the force be with you. Have a good night, guys.